Alright, so today I'm going to be tying a veiled blood dot egg pattern for Lake Superior steelhead. Egg patterns are used a ton by steelheaders, not just on Lake Superior, but pretty much everywhere people fish for steelhead. You'll see them from anywhere from very small, like a bead. They make egg patterns that are just colored beads that are tied on hooks, all the way up to like nickel-sized egg patterns, or even you get your cluster patterns, or scrambled egg, I guess, or sucker spawn. Those are all names for patterns that kind of look like multiple eggs clustered together, almost like an egg, like a spawn sack that traditional or spin casting fishermen will use. But oftentimes these egg patterns that fly fishermen use, they're made out of what's called egg yarn, and it comes packaged like this. It'll be just a rope basically of this stuff. McFly Foam makes some, Glow Bug, or the Bug Shop, they make some called Glow Bug yarn. I don't know, I'm more worried about the color than who makes it. There might be subtle differences, but it hasn't seemed to make a difference for me so far. So this one that I'll be tying today is going to be a real yellowish chartreuse color, really bright. That's why I actually had to take away my lighting today. It was too much for this fly. So, and then I have it veiled with a with a large crystal hackle, clear white color. So basically here's what it looks like when you get done tying it. And then once you've fished it, you can see, here's one that I fished quite a bit. That stuff really turns into like a veil in the name. It kind of encases it in it, and it ends up looking very slimy. Very neat looking fly in the water. This really light colored chartreuse really does actually glow, hence the name Glow Bug. And then what's really nice about it is you got a couple hot spots here with the orange dot, and then I tie it with an orange thread on the front, so you get a hot spot there in front. So I like to think of these egg patterns as more of attractor patterns rather than imitations. So I'll get to tying it. So the hook that I'm using actually isn't a fly fishing hook. It's this Gamakatsu Finesse Wide Gap in a size 4. So I really like this hook. You got a nice flat area or flat shank right here for tying on, and then you have a nice wide gap here. Allows you to get bigger size egg flies without burying that hook point. So alright, so the thread that I'll be using, just a Danville's flathooks nylon. This is a 210 denier, so it's really going to allow me to really crank on that egg yarn. And this is just in like a fluorescent orange. I also use sometimes this UTC in a fire orange. It's just another slightly different color, but get started. So actually what we want to do is put down a base of about 10 wraps of this 0.015 lead wire. Ten wraps should do it. If you want to tie this for slightly faster water, you can go up to 0.02 size lead wire. It's still doable. Once you get above that, it's kind of hard to get a nice full looking egg pattern, just because you'll end up building up too thick of a portion where you have to tie onto with the egg yarn. So just you want to position it so it's about about 2 to 3 millimeters back from the eye, and then you're just gonna wrap on your thread and build almost like a ramp leading up to that lead wire, and then just very loosely bring wraps over that lead wire and then to the back, and then you want to build up a ramp behind it as well. Clip off your excess thread there. Basically, if you didn't do this, it would end up pushing the lead back as you tried to wrap over it. Just build up a ramp before and after the lead wire. That'll keep the wraps of lead close together and touching. And then just build up a base of thread on that lead wire. Alright, and then once you're happy with the way that looks, just bring your thread right to the middle of where that lead wire was wrapped. Let it hang. And then you're going to want to cut yourself off 3 pieces. And it'll kind of depend on, you can play with how full your egg patterns are. You don't want them super dense. It's hard to get them to sink quick if they're real dense. But if you play around with it, you can get full looking egg patterns with just the right amount of yarn. So I like to cut off 4 pieces, or actually three hunks that are about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. It just makes it easier to work with. And then take one of the pieces and separate it in half. And then you're gonna want to put, basically you'll have 1.5 pieces right here, 1.5 pieces right here. So those are your 2 clumps of your chartreuse. And by the way, that if you're interested, I can't remember which company this was, but this is just a hot green glow yarn, different from the chartreuse. The chartreuse actually from the same company is quite a bit darker. I've seen it called like a moss green by other manufacturers. The darker color, I like the real yellow color. So what you're gonna do is just take and wrap over the middle of the egg yarn, 1 full wrap, and then a second, and then just hold it and pull really tight. And then from here on out, you're gonna want to keep good tension on your thread. And if it kind of starts to come around the side, that's okay. That's actually desirable. It'll help create a nice full looking egg fly. And then so I'll actually just bring this back over. Make sure you're gonna want to stay all your thread wraps one on top of the other. You don't want to start making a big area of thread wraps. And then just go and bring this up to the bottom of the hook shank. What I did is I just pinched it over the thread, and then I'm going to position it right underneath the hook shank, and then I'm going to want to do a good solid wrap, making sure that I stay right where I'd wrapped before. Alright, so something like that. Okay. So it's basically 2 wraps on the 2 wraps on the top piece, and then 2 wraps on the bottom piece with your thread. And keep tension. I'm holding tension on that. Then you're gonna want to separate out a pretty small clump of your of an orange for your blood dot. This is a real darker orange. They call it dark roe. This happens to be the Bug Shop, their brand of glow bug yarn. Then you're gonna want to take and I don't know if you can see what I'm doing too well. Because I'm working on the other side here from where the camera is, but take and half your piece right over your thread, and then bring it over the top, and then catch it down. Make sure it's real tight on there. That'll keep a nice tight looking blood dot. And then just hold everything tight and really cinch it down. And I actually don't even take a wrap after this. I just come and work it in between the side, in between the top and the bottom layer, and then I just go ahead and I go over, and that catches everything in nice and tight. as long as I have it folded back, just so that if my thread doesn't fall off the hook shank as I'm trimming, I'll just put a half hitch to hold everything right there. Alright, so the next step is trimming. You're going to want to hold everything very, very tight. Bring it up, trim it fairly close, maybe about start a quarter of an inch, and I have rounded scissors. That kind of helps me a little bit, but you just kind of want to go start at an angle, go up, flatten out as you come around the top, and then go down. So just kind of an arcing pattern with your scissors. And you're going to want a decent pair of scissors for this, just so that you make sure you can cut your egg yarn. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom here. Just really important to really grab that nice and tight before you start trimming. That'll give you a good shape. If you hold it real loose and try trimming, you're going to end up with a weird shape that you're going to end up having to trim more, and that ends up taking extra time, and it never ends up looking quite as well. Okay. So there's my basic egg fly, but what I'm going to now do is make this veiled. So that veil is actually supposed to look like the sperm from the male, kind of encasing it. I also just like that it makes it look slimy. I think it makes it look a little bit more realistic. And here I was torquing so hard that I actually shifted my hook a little bit in the vise. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is just put on my crystal hackle white. And make sure you trim the end real clean. Then you're just going to want to catch the tip of it. It looks like your hook is buried, but just stroke back some of the egg yarn. And catch that in. You might have a few fibers that are kind of sticking up around where the hook eye is. You know, I don't really worry about that too much with these flies, because as long as I don't cake it with head cement, it doesn't really hinder me being able to thread this fly on. So then just take a couple of wraps just to secure that in. And now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this just like a hackle, making sure that I stroke the fibers back. And as you wrap, it'll kind of push that egg yarn back a little bit. And you really only need a few wraps of this. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop with just 2 on this one here. It's really all you need. And just go ahead and tie that off. Alright, trim away your excess there. Now just kind of stroke back any loose fibers, and then this is where I build up that's kind of that second hot spot, and then that helps hold those fibers back for the most part. And like I said, it'll look like my hook eye is buried. It's really not. Line will go right through there. I use snap hooks because I fish a lot of tandem rigs. I don't like to snip off my line, since this is usually my lead fly, and tie on my point fly again. So I use a lot of snap hooks, and they'll go right through there. Fishing line will go right through that hook eye yet too. So just 3 wraps with your whip finish should do it. And then go ahead and head cement. And that pretty much finishes off this fly. Real quick, I only got about 30 seconds to show you. I also tie this fly in an orange, a light orange, and that's this the Bug Shop, and this is light roe color, and then I put a real dark pink blood dot in there. So that's just a dark pink color on that. But anyways, hope you like this fly, and I hope it catches you lots of fish. It has for me.